World War III could be just around the corner. And if it comes down to it, the establishment will use a catastrophe in a desperate attempt to keep troublesome Trump out and put Hillary in. It's a matter of what sets it off. The prelude is U.S. saber rattling against Russia, and the overture is sharpening its swords in Syria.
U.S. military strikes against the Syrian government is at the top of the agenda today at the White House, when top national security officials in the Obama administration are set to discuss options for the coalition in Syria, the Washington Post Daily reported. The U.S. officials are going to push forward so-called limited military strikes in order to, according to the official version, prevent violations of the ceasefire by the Assad government and disrupt his ability to continue committing war crimes against civilians in Aleppo and, for sure, to push it back to the negotiating table. The options under consideration reportedly include bombing Syrian Air Force runways, using cruise missiles and other long-range weapons fired from coalition planes and ships. The report says that the idea is supported by the CIA and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. One proposed way to do so without a UN Security Council resolution would be to carry out the strikes covertly and without public acknowledgement. This approach also explains the coalition's actions against the Syrian army outside Deir ez-Zor in September, when over 60 pro-government fighters were killed and over 100 injured in airstrikes lately called an accident by US officials. Now, there are little doubts that it was likely an intended move to damage the government forces fighting with ISIS in the area.
But those who live by the sword, Jumerica, will die by the sword.
On October the 6th, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad repeated a guarantee of safe passage to the rebels holed up in Aleppo. However, this offer from the legitimate government of Syria was overshadowed by a highly publicized statement from United Nations envoy Staffan de Mistura, in which he volunteered to personally accompany some Jabhat al-Nusra fighters from the city as a human shield. The unprecedented offer was bluntly rejected by Jabhat al-Nusra, which reaffirmed its collective desire to continue attempts to break the siege instead of making peace. Chief of the Directorate of Media Service and Information of the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation, Major General Igor Konashenkov, promised that no U.S. aircraft would be immune from the threat the S-300 and S-400 air defense batteries pose in case of military strikes on the government-controlled areas. Konashenkov pointed to the airstrikes against Syrian government forces in Deir ez-Zor as one of the primary motivating factors in importing the potent weapons systems.
But the war cries continue. What's good for the Jews is all that counts. For with Syria under Russian air cover at the brink of victory and strengthening its axis of resistance against a greater Israel, the road to World War III by Jumerica marches on.
General Dunford, is there any question in your mind, any doubt that Russian planes were responsible for attacking the United States
See what the Jews doing? Already implying that Russia attacked the U.S.
General Dunford, is there any question in your mind, any doubt that Russian planes were responsible for attacking the United States the UN convoy that was trying to deliver aid to Aleppo?
Senator, I don't have the facts. What we know are 2 Russian aircraft were in that area at that time. My judgment would be that they did. There were also some other aircraft in the area that belonged to the regime at or about the same time, so I can't conclusively say that it was the Russians, but it was either the Russians or the regime.
Well, it sounds to me like you're saying that their responsibility was demonstrated beyond a reasonable doubt.
Senator, there is no doubt in my mind that the Russians are responsible. I just don't know whose aircraft actually dropped the bomb. So I would certainly associate myself with the comment that you made earlier that, yes, it is the Russians that were responsible.
Which is a war crime.
He doesn't have the facts, yet has no doubt Russia did it. And so it becomes a war crime. Well, who needs facts when Russia is replacing America as a major player in the Middle East? Not an Israel firster like America, and the neocon Jews are seething. The heat is on against Russia, and all the signs are there. First, U.S. planes slaughtered Syrian soldiers trying to liberate Aleppo from ISIS. Then Samantha Powers blamed Russia for the ISIS attack on the UN convoy. Then Jay Johnson of Homeland Security says Russia hacked the DNC with zero evidence. Then Hillary flames Putin at the debate. It gets worse.
I want to be clear. I want to be unambiguous. I want to be clear to those who try to oppose the United States. I want to be clear to those who wish to do us harm. I want to be clear to those around the world who want to destroy our way of life and that of our allies and friends. The United States military, despite all our challenges, despite our op-tempo, despite everything we've been doing, will stop you and we will beat you harder than you've ever been beaten before. Make no mistake about that.
But no one's threatening your American way of life, Millie. Homosexuality is rampant, and your military welcomes transgenders within its ranks. But make no mistake about it, Russia has humiliated America's plans to topple Assad, and the Jewish neocons are out for blood. Their gal Hillary touts the script.
You've seen reports. Russia's hacked into a lot of things. China's hacked into a lot of things. Russia even hacked into the Democratic National Committee. Maybe even some state election systems. So we've got to step up our game, make sure we are well defended and able to take the fight to those who go after us. As president, I will make it clear that the United States will treat cyber attacks just like any other attack. We will be ready with serious political, economic, and military responses.
Sure, Hillary, bomb every Russian with a computer? But a more likely scenario, with the Lusitania and Operation Northwood as examples of the U.S. targeting its own citizens, is America executing a false flag against Russia. Paint their F-18s in Russian colors and shoot down their own U.S. plane in Syria. Follow with hits on the U.S. fleet in the Arabian Gulf, then blame it on Russia and the Jews strike fool's gold. It gets Hillary elected with her shrieking, "I told you so," and see what happens when Trump's in bed with Putin. America retaliates by bombing Russian planes in Syria, then hits the SAA, turns around and strikes Iran, which would seek to intervene, and World War III kicks in. Who benefits? International Jewry that prints money out of thin air to fund the war. For out of the nuclear ruin arises a Jew world order, removing all obstacles impeding its power. Nation states, independent policies, and economic blocs trading in their own currencies will be obliterated. A one-world government is on its way with Jewish moguls at the sway. And America, with all its military might, is only a pawn in their game.